Breaker, breaker. Hey, how's everybody doing out there today? Hope everybody's having a great day. Going to do a weekly recap video. Do these every week. So if you like them, stick around. Maybe hit that thumbs up, subscribe. We do it all the time. Come join me for a live. It's a lot of fun. Hang out and just talk truck and stuff. So I did 2 loads this week. We started the week out in Kansas on a Thursday afternoon, and we wrapped up the week on Wednesday at noon in Minnesota. So we took a load from Kansas down to North Carolina, came up to Norfolk, Virginia, grabbed a load back to Minnesota, and that was my week. 2,700 miles, pretty much dead on. That's all miles. We did 168 deadhead miles. For 6% of our miles were deadhead this week. And so, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's break it down a little bit. So the load out of Kansas City area was good. That actually loaded out of Topeka. I was in Topeka. Loaded that out of Topeka down to North Carolina. And good load. Not bad. I enjoyed it. Other than the fact the way they loaded it, I would have preferred them not to load it like that. They put some heavy pallets on the back, which made me had to put my axles more to the rear of the trailer than I would have liked. Did cause some fuel economy issues because I was loaded heavy on the trailer. And the axles were back, so the side skirts were not doing as good a job, bringing that wind around for me. But it ran quick, it unloaded quick, it paid pretty good. That load paid $3,950 to the carrier. That is $3,160 to the truck. That is $315 a mile to the carrier. That is $252 a mile to the truck. And like I said, it was a quick load. We picked that up on Thursday afternoon, and that delivered Saturday around noon. So it was like a 2-day run. It was 1,254 total miles, 60 of that deadhead, 1,194 on the loaded miles. We paid $20 in tolls in Kansas, $12 to scale that load, $20 in reefer fuel. It was a start-stop load at 30 degrees, so that wasn't running too bad. And then we had $30 in DEF fluid we bought, and $303 in diesel on that load I purchased. So it did use a little bit more. I buy most of my fuel in Illinois, so my fuel prices probably seem a little high to some guys, but I get 61 cents in IFTA credit doing it that way, so that's why I do it that way. Typically, if you minus out the IFTA, I have a video about that. You can go back and check that out. But if you minus the IFTA out of fuel, you really just want to pay for the diesel. Forget the IFTA, get it out of there. Just pay for the diesel. Illinois is typically the best price on just the diesel, so I buy a lot of my fuel there. So second load, come down, did out of Norfolk, Virginia, up to Minnesota. This load killed my weekly average. It really did. I didn't do what it was per mile, but it was probably like $1.70 a mile. I forgot to write that down. It was $2,500 loaded, which is $2,000 to me, or to the truck. And the way that breaks down is I spent $32 on tolls, West Virginia Turnpike, and one to get up through Illinois. $12 on a scale. That was a heavy load. That thing was 36,000 pounds. 55 degrees start and stop was a beverage load. So yeah, $12 scale. $617 on diesel I purchased on that run, because if you notice, that first run was a long run, but I didn't buy a lot of diesel. So it's just the way it worked out. I filled up in Illinois. I didn't need a lot. I filled up over there. That's what the 303 was. Ran it down. Bought on the way back up to Minnesota. I bought a little bit in Virginia to get me to Ohio, where it was a better price, but I only bought enough in Ohio to get me to Illinois. So I bought fuel three times on that one, just, trying to get back to where it was a better deal. Probably should have bought some in North Carolina, but I didn't realize how bad a fuel economy that heavy load through those mountains was going to run. I was probably down like 7.2, something like that. It was not a stellar week for fuel economy, I'll be honest with you. Between the last load having the axles back and it being loaded heavy on the trailer side of things, kind of hurt the fuel economy. And then, coming back through the West Virginia Turnpike. Honestly, I thought about that load after I booked it and after I started running it. For the price I was getting on that load, the $2,500 out of Virginia back to Minnesota, I could have deadheaded all the way back to Chicago and got like $2,200 on a load from Chicago back to Minnesota. You know, that area. Like, I could have come back up to Ohio and got close to that. Next time, I will run across those mountains empty. I will deadhead out of Virginia all the way back up into like Ohio, Indiana, Chicago, bite the bullet, probably make a little less on revenue, but it's so much easier on the truck to not have to pull that heavy load through those mountains. And I can make better time, because that's the key to me, guys. If you notice my weeks, a lot of them are like 2 loads, 3 loads. Most of the time I do 1 load out of Minnesota or out of the Midwest down to the Southeast, and then I pick up a deadhead and I run it back up as quick as I can to get back up to where the good paying freight is, up in the upper Midwest, because that's where I have some connections and that's where I get the best deals. So with that being said, next time I will have to evaluate that a little more. I kind of took that load just because I was like, okay, that's a decent paying load out of that area. There's not a whole lot coming out of there. It's only a beverage load, so it was 55 degrees start and stop. I was like, okay, I can save a little bit on reefer fuel. You know, it's not like a meat load where I got to keep it, you know, continuous at a cold temperature. So I was like, all right, I'll run it. And then I thought about it later, and I was like, I would have much rather just deadheaded back up to Chicago and got $2,000 from Chicago to Minnesota and not have to deal with all those mountains with a heavy load. It's just, sometimes you got to take a little bit of a revenue hit, you know, but it pays off in the end, because I could have ran back up there a lot quicker, got to Chicago, instead of being, you know, held down through all the mountains and everything. And you got to think of wear and tear on your equipment. That's another thing. When you're burning a lot of fuel, you're being hard on your equipment, you know. That's why I like fuel efficient, aerodynamic trucks, because, you know, if you're burning a lot of fuel, you're working harder on everything else. The transmission's working harder, your DEF system is working harder, your exhaust system is working harder. It's just harder on your equipment. So next time I get into that area, like I said, I'm going to probably look at just deadheading back through the mountains. So anyway, that load breaks down. Like I said, I spent more on diesel on that load, and that was because, you know, I bought a little here, a little there, and then when I got back up to Illinois, where I found the best price of fuel, I bought like 185 gallons right there. And, you know, that carried over to the next week. But we never care about carrying fuel over, or, you know, I mean, you buy the best price fuel you can get, and you fill it up when you can get it. You know, sometimes you might have to buy 50 gallons here to get you back to this place to get better price fuel. But when you get to that good price fuel, you fill it up. You don't care if it's the end of the week, the beginning of the week, because that's how you do it. You buy what you need to buy when you need to buy it. Don't worry about what it's going to do to your check this week, because if you're making real good money, you don't care what $200-300 of fuel does to your check this week. You know you're going to burn the fuel next week, right? Right? That's how we look at it. So let's go over some total numbers here real quick. Total revenue this week, $6,450. Not a stellar week. That, like I said, that load out of Virginia really drug down my average, because it was the longer load of the week, and it was the lesser of the paying loads this week. And that's how it works sometimes, guys. It's, you know, like, I'd love to get on here and tell you every load pays $5 a mile. That's just not reality. And if somebody is telling you that, you know, just take it with a grain of salt and watch more of my videos than their videos. I'm biased, of course, but that would be my take on it. So anyway, $6,450 to the carrier. That breaks down to $5,160 to the truck. I spent $920 total on diesel. I spent $58 on reefer. I spent $30 on DEF. I spent $52 on tolls. I spent $24 on scales, for a total of $1,084 in variable costs this week. If you subtract the $1,084 from the $5,160 to the truck, that $5,160 to the truck minus $1,084 in variable cost, that leaves $4,076 for me to do what I got to do with. You know, guys, I'm leased to an 80-20 split carrier. For all my new subscribers, I want to put that out there. You know, you factor in your truck payment and your insurance on what I got going here. You know, maybe some other insurance costs if you have them. You know, you got to break all that in there. But that's what I got left to do what I got to do with. I like doing the variable costs. This is a very clean way of doing it. I'm not trying to hide anything. Like I say, you will need to factor in if you have a truck payment. And that's one of the reasons I don't factor it in, because some people don't have truck payments. People have varying levels of insurance like you wouldn't believe. So factor, you know, if you're using this as a guide, maybe you want to become an owner operator. If you know someone that does, share the video with them. Because these are real numbers. I put these out every week. Good weeks, bad weeks, I don't care. I put it out there for you because I want to know I want you to know what you're getting into before you get into it. And I want people to see that it's not the end of the world to not have to do a lease purchase. If you're happy in your lease purchase, more power to you. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I've done it twice, and let me tell you, when you buy your own truck, it's very freeing that you're not tied to the carrier. You know, if the carrier wants to screw you over, you can say, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. You know what I mean? Like, keep that in mind before you go lease a truck. It's not that hard to get a truck. Spend a couple $1,000s, put a down payment. Hell, save up 20, 30 grand and pay cash for one, and then you living in the money right there. That's the way you want life, a paid off truck. And but yeah, guys, that's how I think of it. That's how I break it down. I appreciate everybody watching. If you watched this far, hit that thumbs up for me. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. We do this every week. I put out a lot of trucking content, and we do a lot of good lives with a lot of good people. A lot to be learned in there, not just from me, mostly from the other people, because I don't know why, but I draw a really smart crowd of really competent people. So keep that in mind. And also, before I let you go, click on one of these other videos. They're really good. Check them out. Just saying.